Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Lane Yappers. Today, you're going to be joining us all down under as we recap the Australian Grand Prix. I'm Lex.
I'm Mox.
I'm Tay.
I'm Reagan.
And I'm Haley.
Can I just say happy birthday, Rosie, on Tuesday?
Happy birthday,
Yes,
Rosie.
Happy birthday, Rosie.
So, the land down under. So much happened. Let's take it
Guys,
from the top.
I
yeah.
knew it was going to be chaotic because last year was insane.
Yeah.
So,
And
like,
the feeder series were insane this whole weekend.
Yes.
We know.
Just the whole vibes going into the weekend, even with like fans and everything, like just felt like it's gonna be a crazy weekend.
I took note of that, like not talking specifically about what happened on track, but just the entire vibe of Australia was the first that I truly felt. I'm like, yeah, Formula One. This is like a big fan sporting event
Like
compared
this
to
is
like
exciting.
Jeddah and Bahrain.
Yeah.
I didn't get the same vibes. Australia really hit it.
I feel like a
They
lot
had
of people
amazing vibes.
traveled to the Australian Grand Prix to go
Mhm.
to it also, which I think helped. I feel like we were getting like so much like instant content from the track and from the
Mhm.
circuit and everything
Mhm.
that it was like it felt like, oh, okay, we're all there, like we're all watching this happen.
I think it also felt
And it
like,
felt like the first race of the year.
I felt like it was like kind of the first race. No offense to the first two, but like because it was a Saturday, I was like, Sunday, it's supposed to be an F1 race, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Megan, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that I feel like it's the first race of the season. I mean, obviously it's the third race, but like it felt like there were more like real fans there rather than just people that are just like, I'm at an F1 race, and it was like people who actually like care to be there. So like the energy was just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
I want to add onto what Reagan was saying with like how it felt like the first race. I get that same vibe, not only just because of fan atmosphere, but because teams have become a little bit more in tune with their cars and how like they're
Mhm.
performing. So it's not all of just like experimenting. Oh, we have to tweak this, we have to tweak that. Yes, they do that every weekend, but they have more feel going into this race
I feel
for the
like
most part.
a lot of the maybe not the teams, but the drivers, they were like, yeah, I feel really confident about this weekend. I'm very excited. And then I'm not joking, maybe 15 cars went into the gravel all the time. Like that gravel,
That
you know
one turn.
exactly that one turn
Yup.
with that gravel. Worst enemy.
Yeah.
F1
Yeah.
drivers see it and they're like, what do I do? What do I do?
Like I
Go
have to
through
hit
it, sure.
So bad.
It's like that one chicane in Monza where they're like, I have to do the obstacle course off the track. I can't just stay on the track. I have to physically go through these.
I have to drive through those boards.
Yes.
I get bonus
Like,
points
you
if I go
don't.
through there, right?
10 points.
That's
for
how I get
every
fast
sign
lap,
I
just
hit.
straight through.
Oh my
I
god.
just hear the Mario Kart like start. Like
ding ding coins.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Speaking of Mario Kart, they definitely replaced Carlos Sainz's appendix with mushrooms, right?
Oh yeah.
I think Carlos's appendix is having the opposite
Yeah.
reaction from Alex's appendix debacle. So
He's gonna get him a
maybe
job.
maybe everything that's like, you know how it's like, oh, that's because of Alex Albon's appendix. Maybe Carlos getting the surgery has stopped that.
It's
Yeah.
the
Now it's
every
out.
action has the opposite and equal reaction. It's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I know Newton's
Which
law,
thank God, because I
baby.
could not have gone through another Alex issue.
oh no.
Well,
no.
okay, well, we do have an Alex
Oh,
issue that
we
we have
do.
to talk about, but it pains me.
Do we want
Yeah.
to?
I'll say it.
We have to.
Alex crashed, and
Turn 6,
instead
God.
of him
In the
getting-
same place that he did last year, might I
Yeah.
add.
and by the way, all of us were like, no, Alex crashed, like what? And then Williams is like, hey,
That
by
was
the way,
bad enough.
we don't have a spare part.
Hey, we don't have
Yeah.
a car. And we were like,
We're like,
I woke up to the worst news
Isn't that your
ever.
job?
they were like, hey, Logan Sargent is actually not going to be racing this week,
Mhm.
and Alex is going to race his car.
Yeah.
The level of disrespect
I was like, you're
think-
to
telling
me
Alex,
personally.
you're telling me
Like, what happened
that
to like
Alex,
having to prove yourself this year?
Yeah. Also, didn't they say Logan had till the third race to prove himself? I think he's proved
him the
himself as a
opportunity.
team player
Yeah.
100%.
Like,
My favorite is Max's comment being like, if I were him, I'd be
I'd
on the
be
plane
out. I would
home.
be-
I'd be
yes.
getting some rest.
Crashed. No one was driving. We had
My
no
car is
cars.
also
It was
done.
like,
Yeah.
and then
like,
also the
Get
like
back in the car,
the
crash.
audacity James Vowels had was like, I kind of regret this decision. My dude, then
Undo
take it
it.
back.
this is an
Right.
unacceptable decision. I'm like,
And then they were like, oh, by the way, we don't have this part either for Japan.
Yeah. What is why?
Well, that was known.
so
They
many
said
questions.
that. They said that even before quali. Williams was like,
It's
yeah,
like
we're not going to have this part
yeah.
for Japan. But
it's
what I
factory,
don't
yeah.
understand, neither did Kick, by the way. Kick doesn't have a front wing.
Yeah.
What is with these teams not having spare parts
But
in
also,
Australia?
But I think
that, and it's like a full, like for Alex, for example, obviously it was a factory issue. Like they physically, even if they had a chassis, they wouldn't have, like,
Yeah.
there was no, they
They
had
couldn't
no
get it
chassis
there
in
in
the
time.
factory.
Yeah.
But like, no, that was the thing, is if they would have had one at the factory, they could have gotten there on time for quali, because it was practice one. It would have been cutting it
Oh,
close. But let's be real, the
They'd find a way.
they could have just taken, 20th place, got both cars on the track, but the factory had no chassis.
I don't know.
Also, can I just say, this entire Williams debacle, I love that team with all of my heart. The amount of screen time Logan Sargent got in that garage is more than he has gotten
Oh my god.
at all,
Yeah.
point blank. And every time
Like-
they cut to him in
Everyone
the
cheered.
garage, everyone
could
cheered, but he
hear-
looked depressed as hell, and it
Yeah.
made me so upset.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also think,
I'm
though,
so glad
like,
he just ended up leaving, honestly.
I will say, though, Williams, as much as I hated this entire thing, the person who tweeted and was like,
Yes.
I came
Mm.
from America, wanted to see Logan race. Like, this just ruined my Grand Prix experience. And Williams is like, hold my water. I'm going to grab her. She's going to watch
Yeah.
it. She's
Yeah.
going to
So
watch it
proving
from the
they're, like,
garage.
the
And that
best
was like,
Her and
I was like,
friend to the
that
garage,
just
yeah.
that just proves that Williams actually does care about their fans.
Yep.
Understands how much effort and time and money goes into watching and
Mhm.
going to a Grand Prix.
Mhm.
And they're like, you know what? Wouldn't be possible without you guys. Let's go get her.
Exactly.
And that's what I think I loved most about Williams. And
Yep.
I think that also showed when we went to the season launch.
Yeah.
Like how much they truly valued like the fans
little-
and us being there.
The one thing that I will say about practice is I believe the top 6 were separated by 700ths of a second,
Yeah.
and like the top 10 were by like 8 or 9, which is
Mhm.
like mental.
Ferrari in the simulations from Australia always showed that they were faster than Red Bull.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which I was,
dude,
it
Red Bull
showed.
was struggling
It
this
showed.
weekend, man.
Yeah, I was like, Max is not doing well. And I was like, I
Mm.
don't know if this is just not his track or it's
No,
the
but
car.
it would take him a good, like, he obviously put it on pole and he was doing good in practices, but it would take him a lot longer. The Ferrari, like
Mhm.
Carlos Sainz would go out there, do
To
one
build
lap
up there.
like on cold tires, get, fastest lap in practice, and he'd keep it until
Yeah.
they, the
Yeah, you'd
last
get, like,
10 minutes or something.
Lando P1, and then you get
Yeah.
a Charles P1. Like you just
This
get
was
these people
like-
constant P1s, and then Max is like 5, 6.
Yep.
You know.
I felt like this was F1 before Max and Red Bull dominated because it
Mm.
would just go between McLaren, Mercedes,
Yeah.
Aston Martin, Ferrari. Okay, Mercedes once or twice, but it was always George. I was like, go George.
Mhm.
And then we fell apart.
Go
It's fine.
George until George didn't go. Anyways, qualifying.
Cool.
Yeah.
So-
One
I
major
fell asleep.
thing, Yuki Tsunoda out-qualified his teammate once again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's
And
right.
who was shocked?
I-
Hometown hero, I guess.
I'm gonna be honest.
I guess.
At the beginning of the season, was not expecting that from Yuki. Just because I just wasn't. Daniel has more experience,
Mhm.
and they also obviously favor Daniel. So I was like,
Mhm.
they're going to make sure he does better. But now I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
go Yuki. Like, that's expected now.
Can I be honest? And I hope I don't make anybody mad when I say this. I just, after watching, like, I know it's only 3 races in, and also obviously a lot can change as we get into the season, but so far I just feel like Danny Rick has really lost his his touch
Mhm.
so far.
Yeah.
They put him, when he went into AlphaTauri last year, he was doing pretty solid. And then now I don't know what's changed, and I don't know if it's the pressure of everybody saying he's gonna take Checo's seat or what it is. But I truly think he's kind of lost a little bit of that touch.
I think
Because I know he could do better because I've seen him do better.
Not to quote him, and I didn't, but like I actually think it's the distraction of media saying, is he going to take Checo's seat?
Yeah.
Is he going? And like Red Bull saying like, oh, you do well, we'll put you in Red Bull. And like that's so stressful for anyone. And like the fact that he was like he took basically a year off, and then Christian Horner was like, let's put you in this junior team. You have to show Yuki you're better than him, and you also have to show us you're better than him.
And also
and
you're
then
gonna
he broke
shatter
his
your hand. Yeah.
Like he didn't really have an good experience in that car all that much. And then he got a whole new car, and now everyone's like, so Red Bull? You're going to Red Bull? And he's like, well, I've barely even gotten back on track, and I'm being told, like, he's stepping back now, and I think he's realizing, like, okay, maybe I don't have it anymore. But
yeah, I feel like he also like hasn't shown that he still has the drive that's needed within himself. Like if you look at someone like Fernando Alonso has the longest career in championship history, and he still is like has that fire under him, still is heavily competing. And then you look at someone like Daniel, who hasn't obviously been in that long, but is on the older side, and he just can't compete like he used to. And I just feel like he hasn't shown that he has the want enough. I feel like this season at least.
I feel like I don't want to say I feel like he's tired. Maybe stressed is the better word, but I feel like he probably was like, okay, I'm going to get into the car and I'm going to score some points. And he's in a pretty bad car.
Yeah.
For his experience. Not saying like, oh, Yuki's doing better. Yuki has had that car his entire experience, so he's expecting
and it was made
to be in the back
him.
of the field. It's expected to be in the back of the field. He knows who he's fighting, and he knows how they fight. Whereas Daniel's like, well, I was supposed to be fighting Max, Lando, like all those people who know how to that fight. And so I feel like he's kind of out of his element, and he's like, I'm just gonna kind of give up. Which like kind of real of him. Kind of a mood.
Yeah, I think if I had to drive a car or that was acronym to be carb, I would also give up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know, it's really sad to see him, qualifying 18, like all the way down because I know he can do better, but it sucks.
I was so excited to see him again. Like I was like, okay, the real Daniel Ricciardo's back. Like not this shell of a person who's like, I'm just trying to get my seat back. Like I'm just trying. Like I felt like he was like, okay, I'm confident going in. And now he's kind of lost that spark again. And I'm like, oh no, here we go again. Like,
yeah,
I kind of wish something would go right for him, just to kind of get that spark ignited again. But I get it. Good for Yuki though. I'm still very happy for Yuki, and like I think Yuki knew he had to prove himself, and he's like, okay,
he's doing it,
and he did it
able to.
Yeah. Seeing him go into Q3, I was really really happy because he was up there with
And then I woke up to Max on pole, and I was like, okay, I don't need to see any other standing because he's gonna win. Good night.
Missed nothing.
Yeah.
But
I think my biggest thing with VCARB, RB, whatever, is that I know, like, blah, blah, team orders, like, whatever, but I think that they really do need to hammer down their team orders because I think media-wise and, like, PR-wise, they're very much like, Daniel is our first driver, like, whatever, but actually, if you look at the data and everything, Yuki should be the first driver. Like,
technical
it's,
difficulty.
he's in a car that was built for him. He's been in it for, his entire F1 career. Like, he took on the lead when, Nick DeVries was there. He took it when, they had to put Liam Lawson in the car after Daniel. Like, he's been consistently getting points for the team. But then they do things like in Bahrain where they kind of switch up, and it's like, they are trying to take it like a McLaren aspect where our drivers are equal, and they're not.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Your drivers
think-
don't have to be equal. Like, you just have to be consistent with, you can't just, break down one of their confidence one week to, boost the others, and then be like, oh, just kidding. Oh my God, look, this other driver is like our number one driver now. It's like, it's so hard, because then there's just so much internal fighting with the team, and that doesn't need to be happening.
I think, though, they went into this with Daniel has more experience.
Mm-hmm.
He has those race wins. He has the confidence back. He's driven for us before. He's driven for Red Bull before, and he's beaten Max. Like, he can do it. And so they were like, he's the first driver. He's gonna show Yuki how to drive it. So they're putting him first because of that. But like, Yuki's like, hey, I'm doing better right now. Like, on paper, I understand Daniel Ricciardo has more experience, has better track record. However, I am doing better right now.
Yeah. Anyway, that segues us into, I would just like to say, because we're filming this on March 24th, happy anniversary, Multi-21.
Wait, speaking of Seb, he's in a car. He was in a car.
Look what you've done.
It's the polarity between, like, I was breaking down about, like, the news of and processing the news of Logan not driving. Meanwhile, Mox is texting the group chat like, Seb in the car, Seb in the car, Seb in the car. Meanwhile, I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, so sorry to my fellow American, but my man is back in a car. I don't care if I've never watched it before. I will be watching it now. And he was the one who approached Porsche. Porsche didn't approach him. Anyway,
let's bring
sorry.
us back to quali. I want to take note. It's a very specific part of qualifying, but after Q2, after like the elimination, getting into Q2, Esteban making it into Q2. He goes, feels like a victory lap. He was so excited, and I'm like, this is a previous race winner.
They were
cheering about
him
making
apart,
it into Q2.
though.
It was
They
so
were like,
funny.
This isn't really the way you would react usually. They were
They're like,
this is a
you would think he put it
racing
on
reaction.
pole.
His car is overweight. His team consists of
It's
two
gone.
people, him and his teammate.
And they hate
He's
each other.
got Ryan
And they hate each
Reynolds
other.
and Travis Kelce investing in him.
Don't forget Patrick Mahomes.
Like he was
man.
living like he
Him
just
and
put
his
it on
Daredevil
pole.
helmet against the world.
Well, okay,
Hamilton
I was
we can
knocked
talk
out
about some of the
Q2.
things that happened. So like Gasly crossed the pit line, or what was it? Yeah, he crossed the pit line at the exit, penalty.
Well,
And then
Well, that was
Checo
racing.
impeded.
a French getting
No, that was
Wasn't
He
that?
did it in
that
that
both.
was
the
during
race.
quali.
Yeah, he
That
did
was
it
the
in
race
both.
though too.
Oh, he did in both. Oh, but the 5-second
Yeah.
penalty happened in the race. The
Yes.
red one in the race.
And then
okay.
and then Checo impeded one of the Haas
Likely.
penalty.
Likely. You haven't said anything that shocked me.
Hamilton knocked out in Q2
By
that
Lance
was
Stroll.
that was a little crazy.
by
Wait,
Lance Stroll.
What did my boy do?
Lance Stroll
Lance
knocked out
Stroll
Hamilton.
knocked out Hamilton.
I know
out of
my
Q2.
goat. I know my goat.
Yeah.
He was
Zhao,
like,
or-
I think Hamilton was also having issues with
Still, I know my goat.
throughout qualifying and the race, Mercedes was just
Oh, yeah.
struggling
Yeah.
nonstop.
Yeah.
Also, Mercedes had a really bad brake issue. So did Red Bull.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I mean, they
Red
were complaining and then they
Bull
got pulled.
Red
But
Bull
like,
had the biggest brake issue of them all.
literally blew out.
And
So
that brings us into the race.
that's a great segue.
No,
Oh wait,
quali.
can I?
Oh,
Are
go
we
ahead.
doing quali or the race?
We can go back to quali for a second.
Thing.
What do you got?
They didn't have a replacement wing for it, and so he had to start in the pit lane. I would like
Poor Joe.
him to have a good race ever.
He's not.
Ever.
problem.
He can.
I would
Bro.
just like him to put in
I-
a good lap ever, because
I
I
think-
know he can do it.
I think Joe could actually be a very good driver if he was in a good car.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else watched the F2 season he was in, but he was literally fighting Oscar and Liam, and there were a couple other drivers for the championship that whole year. He was so good. He earned, like, people were like, oh, he's a pay driver, like, whatever. He earned his
Okay,
spot.
they're all pay drivers.
Exactly. They're all
Can
rich.
we all just agree they're all pay drivers except maybe two? What is wrong with Kick?
I
Oh
would
my
like
God.
to know why.
Like,
I mean,
why
bad
is their
pit
pit
stops
crew?
after.
So bad.
It's,
Alpine's
they
so-
cannot catch a break.
I don't know.
I don't understand. Like, who needs to be fired? I get it once. You're learning the first every single race so far.
Well, so I don't know what stream you guys watch, but I watch on F1 TV. I watch the international, so I get Crofty. I love Crofty.
I didn't even know there was an option.
I didn't know that was an option.
So as I was saying about Crofty's commentary and what I heard on that stream, it's a wheel nut issue that they have not fixed and probably won't have fixed for maybe a while. It doesn't seem like it's something that they're getting right. Like they may have fixed something a little on it because it wasn't a 4 or 5 second stop at least this time. But it's still an issue.
It's a low win.
Um,
Wow, their pit stops are under 3 seconds.
yeah.
Like that's the low
they?
bar. Low
So,
bar.
The
I
bar
think-
is in hell.
They just really need to figure out this wheel nut issue because it's
Listen,
it's not doing them any
if
good.
this persists, you're gonna see me in that kit garage in Miami. I'm taking care of them. I got this.
I'm jumping in.
Can I
Put me
just
in
say-
a suit. I'll be a highlighter.
Speaking of pit stops, Esteban's
He had the tear off stuck in the
Yeah.
brake.
and the
he took
selfie
a
with it at the
selfie
end of the
with it?
race.
He's like, found it. I'm like, dude.
This is why I like Esteban Ocon.
He
Oh,
knows
he's
when to
hilarious.
just joke.
He's comedic.
Joking is his crutch, and I
Yeah.
feel that. I resonate.
He's so me. When anything goes bad, you just joke about it.
You take a
because will
selfie and
cry.
you laugh.
You will cry
Yeah.
if you don't joke about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good for him. My podium prediction, I was like, I'm going with delusion this week. I had Fernando P1, and then he hit the gravel every single time he was on track, and I went, you know what? Cross that out. Let's put the other Spaniard. P1, Sainz. P2, Norris. P3, Piastri. I got 2 out of
Well, yeah.
3.
It was so close to being that though.
Yes.
If they would have hit Lando before Charles.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know though because love Oscar, but Rosie's not here. So, he was 35 seconds back.
No, he was struggling, and he did say that
I know
over.
it's not his fault, but people
No,
were
it's
like,
not his fault.
As president of 1681 Nation, Charles and Piastri would have been a better podium.
Wait, you kind of ate that.
I spent way too much
It's like
time with
she's Ripley
Rosie.
here.
You need to put
Wow.
her head there.
oh my god.
Anyways, going back. But also I was like, no Max this weekend. No Max this weekend. I'm manifesting it. And then literally off the
Yo.
start, I was like, wow, he's like not taking off. This is good. And then I was like, wait a minute. There is smoke. Where is the smoke coming from? I was so focused on that Red Bull and I was like, please DNF. Please DNF.
She's just
Please
sitting there like-
DNF. I was like,
like,
manifesting works for some people. Let's try it out. It worked because seconds later he goes, I've got no brakes. I've got no brakes.
And then
goes, yeah,
boom, the
there's
car
smoke.
farts.
And I was like, everybody Carlos Sainz is first. I was like, please,
yeah.
Carlos. I was like, I don't know who's up there, but this man, please give him a win. And he got a win. So you're welcome, Carlos Sainz. That's on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The entire
But-
weekend, starting like during qualifying, I was just like, Carlos is taking it. Carlos is gonna win this race. Carlos is gonna have it. That's my
Really,
guy.
I thought the same because I tweeted on Friday. It would be so funny if Carlos wins and then he's the only non-Red Bull driver to win for a second season in a row. Well, if enough of us manifest, it can happen.
Yeah.
Before we move on too much, I do have a fun fact about Max's DNF. It
Slay.
is his first DNF in 43 races,
Damn.
which like I feel like Red Bull had the opportunity to do the funniest thing and just put Checo in that car and like or like put Max in Checo's car and just
That's
be
what I'm
like,
saying. That's what I'm saying.
you know what, Williams is doing it.
I
I know.
I would have laughed.
That would have been
It would
really
have been
funny.
so funny. I mean, logistically, they couldn't, obviously, for many reasons, but like you can't just switch the seat that
Don't
quickly.
worry,
but
the
it
FIA
got-
would have looked the other way.
It would have been so funny, dog, if
have
they just
been
suddenly were like,
since.
Max is coming back out, and Checo is not.
But I
It's
want
like-
to
it's
another
like, what's
funny
the
to
thing.
give
race
us the
that-
better points.
What's the race that Checo
They took him out
DNF
and
and they were like, wait, you gotta go back in, you gotta serve the penalty right now. And then he served the penalty and then DNF'd again. Like, sir, what?
Everyone's like,
I
is
was-
this allowed?
It had to be a late or really early race because I was like, is that I was so confused. I was like,
Sitting
I was
in
like, what? Why is he sitting in the car? And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, wait, there's 2 Red Bulls on track. Wait, didn't Checo DNF? Why is he
It was
back
the
on the grid? I'm
craziest
so
thing ever.
Okay, but
I
can
was
I
so
say,
confused.
it was really funny just the speed at which when Max got out of the car, he got changed so fast.
Oh yeah.
He also
Bro.
booked it.
He
Yeah,
booked it to media
I-
duties and then called it.
Can I say the saddest thing about Max's DNF?
Don't say it.
I know what you're gonna
I'm-
say. I know
no,
what you're
I'm
gonna
gonna say. I'm gonna say it.
No.
I'm gonna say it. No, I'm gonna say it. That was P's first race.
I know.
And
It's
she's
because
the
of all of
problem.
them.
Maybe
You-
she's the problem.
All of them.
Yeah,
She's
blame
a
it on the
child.
girl.
Child.
Yeah, but she's the first.
What is she
It's the
what is
first
she
time she
doing?
came
You
to
think
a
she's
race.
working on the car?
I
Pulling
listen.
her. That was
Like
the
as
Daniel.
seeing
out.
her face after
Crier.
Max walked off,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is really actually heartbreaking. Like I'm actually so
As-
sad for this.
Say there was a clip of her before
Touching
the
the
race.
rear rim.
She was touching that side of the back of the car. So all I'm saying is Pisa Carlos Stan.
As she should.
That's actually really sad. I did not need that fun fact. Thank you. That was not a fun fact. That was just a
That was
fact.
an unfun fact.
That was.
actually.
I'm so sorry, but I had to say it because it was on my mind.
I wrote down I don't know who said this, but they said because like everybody who was on mediums at the beginning of the race, they like pit stopped at like lap 5.
Yeah.
Stopped
Immediately
so
they were like,
early.
no, we're done. Like
They
this medium is
it. Yeah.
the only person who had the medium strategy down was Carlos Sainz.
Yep.
They said it. Carlos
What
was the
else
only
do they
one
know?
who could control mediums.
They did stress me out though with the
Brilliant.
we're doing plan A and then 2 minutes later we're going to
Plan B.
Yeah,
And I said, I clutched my pearls
you
a little
see-
bit. I got a little nervous.
Did you see my text? I went, what happened to plan A?
yeah, how did we get here so
I was
fast?
like, wait. I
What
think plan A was waiting for a safety car
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
early, and then they were like, it didn't happen, so they pit him, and then safety car.
No, literally, as he's coming out of the pits, they were like, "Hey, what if we told you Hamilton DNF?"
Plan
And
A
they're
would
just
have
like,
worked. Also, can I just tell you when Hamilton was like, wow, these cars are really fast. I was like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? You're also in a fast car. It's just not
And
as
then like
fast.
2 seconds later,
then 2 seconds
George
later, he
said
goes-
they're a rocket ship.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
but like 5 seconds later, Hamilton goes, engine failure. And I go, oh, maybe they were really fast.
Yeah, when he said that, when he was like, "That car's really fast," talking about Checo, I was like, "Wasn't
Yeah.
Checo literally struggling?" So I feel like Hamilton, wouldn't you be faster than Checo at this point? And then boom, engine failure. I was like, oh, "Okay, so the car
Yeah.
was really, really fast."
I was
feel
like, you know what?
the
Actually, yeah.
The clip where they were like showing him like slowly trying to get off the track, and then they cut away from him to show like Carlos like leaving his like pit stop, and they cut back and his car was completely behind the fence already gone. I was like, what happened?
I once
He's
again don't know who
gone.
it was, but they were like, Fernando Alonso has to speed to that pit stop to make it work. And he was, Fernando's like, I heard you. He's like,
Yeah,
pedal to the metal, let's go. I think we need to talk about the polar bear in Texas.
I mean, the polar bears.
Yeah. Haas, double points.
Sure.
That kind of brings me into the next point, and I hate talking about this. Because Haas got double points. The one thing that a certain team was banking on
yeah.
with their only driver for the weekend was
Didn't
to
get points, yeah.
get points, and he did not
No.
get points. And there were
You know who would have gotten points? Logan. I'm pretty sure Logan would have gotten points.
Logan, okay.
Because it's
Prior
not
to-
Alex's car.
No. Also, prior to everything that happened, when you're just watching FP1, and I know FP1 isn't always the best thing to like grab all the data from,
Mhm.
but Logan wasn't that far off from Alex.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
like-
they just took it from him. Like every time he gets the opportunity or the chance to like show that he is worthy of
Like
his
when he
seat,
wanted to
they
race
take it
in
from him.
Saudi,
Yeah.
when he wanted to fight and they said no.
No,
And he
yeah.
was feeling
Mhm.
confident enough to
It's-
ask on the radio.
Yeah.
It's also
"Can
really
I
it's so
race?"
annoying because James and Williams are like, we're all for equal opportunities. We all respect our drivers. This was not talking to Logan and say, how do you feel about this? They sat him down and said, we're taking your car.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you did anything bad, but because your
Yeah.
teammate, we're banking on him being better and we don't really think you're that good. So we're taking your car, even though your teammate crashed.
Yeah, I know.
But can
And did
I
you see
just
the
say-
quote from James
And
today?
I'm well
where he's
aware-
saying, like, it's going to be so much work to build Logan's confidence back up
Mhm.
Yeah.
back up after this. And
That's
I'm like,
on you,
yeah.
James Vowels.
As unfortunate as it is, Logan handled it like a champ.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like he
Mhm.
okay, I don't know where he was throughout the race. I don't think like you
don't
guys
think
said
he
that
was
he had
there.
left the paddock early and like, you know what? Valid. I wouldn't want to see that in person either if that I was in his position. I'd be like, Max, flight home. I'm not there, period.
Mm-hmm.
But him handling it at least on social media and just like posting like thank you for the
Mhm.
support, like it was a really hard decision, probably the hardest one in my career, but it just cements how willing he is to support the team.
Mhm.
It
And-
really shows he's a team player.
Exactly.
Yep.
And as if you're thinking about it in terms of constructors, not just individual drivers, that's the kind of driver that you want. You want someone who
Mhm.
is willing to like make those kinds of sacrifices or those really tough decisions of like stepping back for themselves for the benefit of the team.
I
Yep.
also want to shout out Alex Albon.
Mm-hmm.
We're all joking about it, but like he literally
But yeah.
said, like, shout out to Logan. Like, I
Yeah.
know how difficult this is to stand
Mhm.
back and let somebody else drive when
That
you were
Instagram
supposed to be
post,
driving.
that Instagram story was
Like,
really nice.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
very Alex definitely
Shout out
didn't
Alex.
get told to do that. He did that by his own free will. And I think
Yep.
that just shows how close the Williams drivers are.
Mhm.
Even though they
And
are
how much
very
they
underrated
respect
as
each
a
other.
pair. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
I mean, I said this before, and I'll say it again. The only other team that would not hesitate to put their supposed equal drivers and pull one and say, hey, I know you crashed, but I'm going to put you in your teammate's car and your teammate can't say anything about it,
Mm-hmm.
is Red Bull.
Mm.
I think we have to talk about the smooth operation that happened, though.
Yes.
from smooth operation in the hospital to the track. That was probably
was
one of my favorite notes from a commentator.
Such-
He said, from the hospital bed to the front row. And I said, that goes hard.
Yeah.
But I think Carlos, first of all, struggled getting out of that car every single time.
Mhm.
He's still not 100%. And the fact
No.
that he raced, and there was one time where he was 14 seconds ahead of Charles.
No, I saw one. He was 25.
And
That
everyone
he was
was-
still within.
20
He was
Oh,
still
yeah.
in the lead after doing a pit stop, and
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
think I tweeted 25-second gap, and it's a not a Red Bull, and
Yeah.
Max isn't even racing.
Yeah.
But like
Crazy.
everyone, like all the, okay, not the Ferrari fans, but the Charles fans are like, they need to pull team orders. Let Charles go in front. I'm like,
let Charles
he's gonna
catch
have
him
to
first.
park. He's gonna have to pull over to the shoulder of the road and be like, let me just check my socials while Charles tries to catch up. Like,
Let me go get another surgery.
let me just
really
go
quick.
through.
I'll
Let me
catch
just go
up.
through a drive-through, get a coffee, see the ocean, and come back. And maybe he's a second
be
behind
there.
me. But
Hey, it's Charles trying.
I think it shows so much skill. Like, I know we talked about Carlos probably being one of the best drivers on the grid, and that's not us being Carlos fans. This is us. He's the only non-Red Bull driver still to win a race in the Red Bull dominating years. I also think he understands strategy more than anybody else. I feel like this just proved it more that Red Bull, Mercedes, anyone who's thinking of getting another driver, like Carlos can do it.
Yep.
Okay,
And he's
not
the
to-
only driver who can.
Not to jump the gun of like race recap, but in the post like podium interview when they ask not Logan, wow,
Oh,
Lando.
wow.
Oh.
Anyways, when they ask Lando and Charles about
Oh,
like
yeah.
commenting on Carlos, all
Mhm.
they had to say was positive things. And
Positive
like
things.
Carlos saying, or no, Lando saying like, it makes no sense that he's underrated because how like intelligent he is with the car. And then Charles going, it makes no sense that or like I'm not worried about him like in the future because without a doubt like team principals have probably spoken to him and he's probably just not saying anything and Carlos like nudges him and tells him to shut up.
Yeah.
I think Carlos is able now to joke about it a little bit more, and he's shown it
I'm
like
jobless.
at this one, him going like just jobless, and the F1 post of like the quote, and it's him holding the trophy. It's just, I'm still jobless.
But did you see that now that he's like moved up so high on Red Bull's radar now?
Yeah.
If we get Max Carlos
Versigns
lineup,
2025, 10
That'd
years
be
later,
Like,
crazy.
10 years in the making.
but the issue is Carlos isn't going to be able to race in the front because Max will be in the front and they won't let him pass Max. But I feel like he'll be able to race everybody else in a car that allows him to keep that speed. So
I
that's
feel like
what I'm
it's
excited
not
about.
going to be a runaway race anymore. Which
Well,
that's
it might be.
That's my
It
thing.
might
is,
be.
like, I love
But it'll
watching
be both
the,
Red
like
Bulls.
Lewis Hamilton, like Mercedes, like peak years where they, you know, he was winning every race. Even the Sebastian Vettel years, obviously he was winning every
Wasn't me.
race, 10 in a row or
Wasn't
9
me.
in a row. But like we still had, even when those teams were dominating, we still had fight towards the front of the group. Whereas now it's just Max runaway. Sometimes Checo's like, you know, 20 seconds behind him. Like, so it's still a Red Bull 1-2, but it's like not
you can
really.
But
I feel like Carlos would like keep up with him.
Speaking of George, he was doing quite well this weekend.
Oh, yes, he was.
Yeah.
Quite well. He outqualified Hamilton again.
Mm.
Welcome back, Princess Diana. He outqualified Hamilton again.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he had a very good, like, the old Mercedes kind of was back with George, not with Lewis. Lewis, I don't know what was going on with him, but with George, the old Mercedes, they kind of, I felt like they were kind of in a rhythm. They kind of had it. And then, was it the last?
It was within the last 2 or 3 laps, I remember.
I think it was
second
to last. I woke up to George's audio going, please, red flag. I'm in the middle of the road. Red flag, red flag.
If I have to hear that on my timeline one more time.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? So I watched it and I was like, oh, like he just got stuck in the slipstream. And then I fell asleep because I was like, I don't need to hear all of this. It's 2 a.m. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. And then I woke up to Fernando Alonso getting a penalty for dangerous driving after George Russell himself said it was me. It wasn't Fernando.
Yeah, but the thing is, I read something on this. Like I read something that explained like the penalty really well. Like for people who like were confused on like why he got a penalty, maybe like I was confused. I was like, what the heck even happened? Especially after. So apparently it's because he braked.
No,
and
he didn't.
Hold on. I'm just relying information. I'm just
Relax.
Hold on.
Go shoot the messenger.
Just wait a minute.
Oh,
And then
Pull up the feed.
he started, and then he did it again. So that's
No,
apparently why.
no,
but I'm the messenger.
No, you want to know why he did that? He wasn't brake checking him as much as the Russell Sprouts want to say he was brake checking him. He didn't have a throttle. If you listened to anything, he goes, I have no throttle.
Yeah.
So he was trying to pump the brakes to get the throttle back. I'm getting very heated.
This is very RBR of mine.
This is very RBR of her.
George was very confused on why they were going to the sewers afterwards. Like,
he was like,
George,
guys,
welcome back, Princess Diana.
Shit myself because I was upside down. Do I have to go to the principal's office?
I will say though, like, and the fact it was the same exact gravel that Fernando Alonso almost died at, and they were like, you know what, we're not going to change it.
That's the same turn that Alex crashed, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to talk about that for a little bit. I think they need to change something about.
They need to extend it.
They need to do something about that turn badly because
get rid of Australia.
Down, and it sends them right back onto the track. The way it's curved and everything, the momentum, the cars, no matter how much they're hitting the gravel, they're turning back onto the track.
They need
Yeah,
to
and
put
it's-
something there for sure.
Yep.
They need to do something about that turn if they're going to keep Australia 100%.
Sharks, I come to you with a proposal, whatever it is. I've never seen Shark Tank. Let me tell you, Australia out, Germany in.
Anyways,
Anyway,
Can I say I don't know who, I think Lando and Carlos, it was like a dual post on Instagram where
Yeah.
Carlos
Always
was
do that.
showing off his padding,
Bandage,
which by the
yes.
way is not a bandage, that is padding. The bandage was the blue.
Yeah.
Him showing off his padding in the photo, I'm like, that's such a pick-me energy, but I kind of love it. He's like,
It's like
I just got surgery.
It's the fact that him and Lando were pointing at him.
They're
Both,
like-
He's like, I got
it's
like
surgery
the
and
girl-
I
Right
won.
there.
it's like the
He's
girl
like,
who would
I-
wear like the knee brace all
Knee
throughout high school.
braces.
He'd be like, "What's wrong?" And they'd be like, "My knee hurts." He'd be like, "Okay."
Also, I think the photo, Carlos was like, I just got surgery and I beat everybody on the grid. What are you doing?
Real.
Yeah.
As he
Also,
should.
the post race celebration when Carlos Sainz Sr. hugged Lando.
he was like, it was
Yes.
Lando
Oh,
went to
give him a
Carlos first, and
cheek
they hugged, and then
His hand
Carlos
was
and
just
Senior
like-
is just like this.
He said, "Come here."
So
Me next.
cute.
Me next.
He said, "Come, give him to me."
Oh,
The moment of Carlos and his dad, like, just like looking at each other and like nodding from the podium, like, kill me.
It's very
please.
special. And
that. Sorry.
because we're still talking about Carlos, Lando, and Senior. But as someone who started F1 as like a Charlos girly, there's little celebration of like Charles coming up to Carlos's car, like patting him on the
Yes.
head. They're patting each other and like shaking each other.
Ah,
That's
Carlos
really
being the
special
first
to
one.
me, especially because it is Carlos's last season with like Charles with
Mhm.
Ferrari. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cherish them. I'm gonna miss when they're
There's-
gone,
The thing
and I'll
is,
always remember them fondly as a duo without
Yep.
every other bit of noise behind them.
the
Yeah.
thing
Yep.
is they have nothing against each other. Like
No,
they're
they don't.
friends.
They're
They've
good
spoken
friends.
at
All
length
the
about being
fans.
good with each other.
It's all the
Yep.
fans on Twitter.
I know. I did enjoy in the cool down room though. One most chill cool down room we've had in a while. I feel like Max is always in there just throwing shit around and like
Also, yep.
Biggest
but they were all
yapper ever.
chill. They were all
Lando
sitting in a
moves the
circle.
chair over
Yeah.
to watch the TV.
But when they showed the clip of Max's brakes exploding and Charles just starts laughing and covers his face because he can tell the camera's on, that was so good. I was like, damn.
It was literally just a bunch of
Messy.
pals just chilling, having
Yeah.
the time of their life.
That's
And I
my.
like that.
I've
All the
been
little
praying for this
kids
podium for
on the way to
forever.
the
I'm
Yes.
so
podium.
happy.
They're my top 3 drivers on the podium together. Like, I've been
Well,
waiting for this moment.
Not my top 3, but I've been waiting for them.
But it'll be funny if Toto Wolff misses out on a second driver because of Red Bull.
Yeah.
I
That'll be
will
so
laugh.
funny.
I will laugh.
If I was Toto Wolff, I would actually be talking to
I
Carlos
would-
Sainz right
I
now.
would just send him a blank check in the mail and be like,
I'm-
just fill it out.
I know that they have been in the Mercedes hospitality, but it's probably just talks. So like seeing if I was Toto Wolff and I saw the news that Red Bull has pushed
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz, I'd have been like, Carlos, you're welcome to Mercedes.
That was very hygiene of you, Mox. Speaking of Gunther Steiner. Gunther Steiner doing the post-race podium
and
interviews.
Carlos not
So
understanding
Charles-
it at all.
Charles
If they
lost
ever
it.
do that to Charles again, I swear to God.
Charles had to look at him like, and Gunther was
Charles
yappa yappa yap.
Charles had
He's like,
nothing behind
He's like,
behind his eyes. He was like, this poor man. But
Gunther is a clown.
I
Everyone-
love Gunther, not as a team principal, but as a person.
As a personality, he is
He's
great.
so funny.
I thought it was such a good race. I thought, honestly, the midfield kind of slayed. I feel like they,
Okay,
We're-
not the midfield, the back of the field.
Yeah.
Haas fighting Kick
yeah.
was like
And
crazy.
Daniel fighting his demons? I don't know.
I actually think that probably will be the best race of the season unless Max DNFs again.
Yeah.
Or
No, that
Singapore
literally-
happens again.
Like
Yeah.
in doing my F1 journal, I gave it 5 lights out.
Like,
yeah. It was so
It was a
entertaining.
really good race.
It wasn't
So-
like, oh, this is really cool because Max DNF'd and then like it was boring for the rest of the race. Like
It
I
was
felt like
actually exciting for the first time.
yeah, like there were parts of Singapore that were pretty boring. Like until like the last few laps when like people were, overtaking a ton and stuff like that. Like objectively that
Actually
race
nothing.
that yeah. that race wasn't
George
that.
going for a
big.
gap.
Yeah, George following in Lando's line and didn't take it correctly. But like this race, literally every single lap was so entertaining. Obviously, there was just a lot of. There wasn't even like insane overtaking. It was just a lot of.
It's just a lot of overtaking.
Yeah,
There were a lot of
Yeah.
other elements too, just
and I
little
feel like
little things.
all of the pit stop strategies usually they'll kind of, especially the midfield and the back, will kind of
Have the
fall into the same. Yeah, but this time I feel like teams are really like testing stuff, and because they were kind of, I think everyone was expecting a lot more of a safety car or a red flag or something, and there wasn't really. That was like they all kind of had to scramble and be like, well, what are we gonna do? We just get to race like
Yeah.
just for fun, like, and I really
They-
liked it.
I think also like even when Red Bull was on the track,
Mm-hmm.
even in like FP1, FP2, like it wasn't a Red Bull dominating race.
I feel like
It was
everyone
like
was really confident. Like every single team was confident, even
it
if
was
they were
like
like, "Yeah,
tenths of a
we're not going to
second
win."
off.
It
Yeah.
was very, very close.
I was like, I feel like this is actually like F1 again. It's not
Yep.
Max featuring F1. It's F1,
Yeah.
which I was like, okay, I'm kind of excited for this season because this is not like a track specific issue.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
they both were complaining about brakes
Exactly.
the entire
Also,
weekend.
a thing, Max kept going on about how he had a lot of understeer
Yeah.
and like nonstop. He was just like, oh, it got worse. Oh, the tires were good, but the understeer
Yep.
was crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I think Red Bull hasn't made a perfect car yet. They're
We
probably
cheer.
going to perfect it, but
hopefully not by Miami.
Yeah.
I want something fun.
But
hopefully by the
hometown
summer
hero-
break. So
Yeah.
after Silverstone.
hometown hero Oscar Piastri in fourth. Other than like him getting on the radio and saying that he was struggling, and the fact that he was directly in comparison to his own teammate in the same car, third and fourth, I think I didn't really realize that he was struggling until they were like, okay, we're gonna like switch team orders. They let Lando in front of him, and kind of like a little bit of that not stress, but like he wasn't so like, it was like, okay, I'm not gonna be on the podium. I just need to like keep fourth. Like I'm good kind of thing. You wouldn't have really known that he was like struggling with the car that much. Like
I was actually very upset about the team orders because I was like, it's his home race, he's racing, he's doing fine. And then I
Yeah.
don't know,
If you were
whatever
watching
stream I was watching
yeah.
didn't say Oscar was struggling. They just said team orders, like we're switching. And I was like, that's so unfair. Like what? Like
To be fair,
first of
no
all,
stream really said that he was struggling. It's
I was
kind of looking at the
so-
team app and looking at the live
I
timing
don't
at
have
the
the team app.
radios. Yeah.
because I am not a McLaren girl.
Yeah, if you have the app and you follow along with like the team radios, you could, he got on and said that he was struggling,
and then they
they
swapped.
said, okay, we're gonna do team orders, we're gonna let Lando in front of you, and he said okay. So
Which
I thought,
shows
Which
his
cements
maturity.
the point.
yeah.
And also
Oscar
cements
is
the point.
another one of
Thought he
those
did
team,
great.
team players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Losker,
I think
team players. Losker,
Yep.
same team in the future.
Congrats to Mr. Carlos Sainz, smooth operator, on our first, hopefully not our last, non-Red Bull win of the season. Sorry, Max. Love you, but
And congrats to Ferrari for their 1-2 first time since what,
Yes.
Bahrain 22?
Yep. Puts them only what,
First
4
Ferrari
points
1-2 in
behind?
Australia since 2004.
Whoa!
A final congrats to Lando for McLaren's
podium.
first medal.
Yeah.
McLaren's first trophy of the season.
Yep.
Many
Definitely
more to
won't be the
come.
last.
Yeah, no.
for sure won't. I know we have Suzuka coming up.
Suzuka's coming up next. We
That's
know
where
that's a good
McLaren
choice for the
shines.
McLaren team.
That's
Very
Oscar's
excited
track.
about it.
I think that wraps up our episode for today.
So that was really fun talking about the Australian Grand Prix. Obviously, very exciting race, and we're excited to meet everyone back up in Suzuka, Yuki Tsunoda's home race. I would like to take a moment to say that. That'll be exciting. But until then, hope that off-track drama keeps us busy, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
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 This is my Instagram story song.